The entire boardroom fell silent as James Mitchell, one of the wealthiest men in America, stood before his executive team with tears streaming down his face. His voice cracked as he made an announcement that would change everything. "I'm giving away half my fortune," he declared, "and it's all because of a homeless girl who taught me what real wealth means." The executives exchanged confused glances. Sarah Chun, his longtime CFO, spoke up nervously. "James, what are you talking about? What homeless girl?" James reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn, weathered wallet. "This wallet," he said, holding it up with trembling hands, "was returned to me 3 days ago. Inside was everything, my credit cards, my ID, $10,000 in cash. But more importantly, it contained something priceless that I thought I'd lost forever." The room buzzed with whispers. Marcus Thompson, the head of security, leaned forward. "Who returned it?" "A 15-year-old girl named Keisha Washington," James replied. "She's been living on the streets for 8 months. She found my wallet in an alley downtown, and instead of keeping the money that could have fed her for months, she walked 7 miles to my office building to return it." "That's remarkable," Sarah whispered. James nodded, wiping his eyes. "But that's not even the most shocking part. When I tried to give her a reward, she refused. She looked me straight in the eye and said something that broke me wide open." He paused, his voice barely above a whisper. "She said, 'My mama taught me that doing right ain't about what you get back. It's about who you are when nobody's watching.'" The entire boardroom sat frozen, hanging on every word. "I asked her where her mother was," James continued, his hands gripping the wallet tighter. "And what she told me next." His voice broke completely, and he had 3 days earlier, James Mitchell had been sitting in his penthouse office on the 52nd floor, staring at the city lights below. He was supposed to be celebrating. His company had just closed a $2 billion deal. But instead, his phone lay silent on the mahogany desk, displaying a text message he'd read 100 times. "Dad, I can't do this anymore. Don't try to find me. Lauren." His daughter. His only child. Gone. James rubbed his temples, remembering their last argument. Lauren had begged him to slow down, to spend time with the family, to stop choosing business over them. He'd told her she was being dramatic, that everything he did was for her future. She'd looked at him with such sadness and said, "I don't want your money, Dad. I just want you." That was 6 months ago. Now she was gone, and his wife Rebecca had served him divorce papers, unable to bear his absence any longer. "Mr. Mitchell?" His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Your car is ready. You have dinner with the investors at 7. "Cancel it," James said quietly. "Cancel everything." He needed to clear his head. Against his security team's advice, James decided to walk through downtown Atlanta alone, something he hadn't done in years. He wore a simple jacket and cap, trying to blend in with the evening crowd. The anonymity felt strange, but liberating. James walked for blocks, lost in thought about Lauren, about Rebecca, about the empire he'd built while his family crumbled. He stopped at a small diner, the kind of place he would have eaten at as a young man before the money, before everything changed. Inside, he ordered coffee and sat at the counter. An elderly black woman named Dorothy worked behind it, her warm smile reminding him of his own mother who'd passed years ago. They talked briefly. She told him about her grandson who was studying engineering, working 2 jobs to pay for school. "You got family?" Dorothy asked, refilling his cup. "I did," James said softly. "I had everything. But I was too blind to see it." Dorothy patted his hand gently. "It's never too late to make things right, honey. Never too late." James paid for his coffee, leaving a generous tip, and stepped back into the cool evening air. He felt his pocket for his wallet to check the time on the receipt. His heart stopped. The wallet was gone. James frantically patted all his pockets, retraced his steps, searched the sidewalk. Nothing. Inside that wallet wasn't just money and cards. It was a photo. The last photo he had of his family together, taken at Lauren's 8th birthday party. Rebecca laughing, Lauren grinning with missing front teeth, and James actually present, actually happy. It was the only copy. His phone had been wiped in a recent security update, and that single photograph was all he had left. James spent the next hour frantically searching every inch of the street, calling his security team, filing police reports. His head of security, Marcus, arrived within 20 minutes with a full team. They reviewed security footage from nearby cameras, but the quality was too poor to see anything definitive. "We'll offer a reward," Marcus suggested. $50,000 for its return. James barely heard him. All he could think about was that photograph. The memory of Lauren's smile. "Make it 100,000, he muttered. "No, 200,000. I don't care what it costs." But as the hours passed with no word, James felt a familiar darkness settling over him. Of course the wallet was gone. It was just like everything else in his life. He'd been careless, distracted, and now he'd lost something irreplaceable. The universe's way of reminding him that all his billions couldn't buy back what truly mattered. He returned to his empty penthouse that night, unable to sleep. The next 2 days blurred together, meaningless meetings, phone calls, emails. Nothing filled the void. Marcus kept him updated on the wallet search, but there were no leads. In a city of millions, one lost wallet had simply vanished. On the third morning, James was sitting in his office when his assistant buzzed in, her voice uncertain. "Mr. Mitchell, there's a young girl here to see you." Security stopped her at the lobby, but she's insisting she needs to speak with you personally. She says it's about your wallet. James's heart leaped. "Send her up. Now." "Sir, she's homeless." "She's not exactly." "I said send her up." James stood, his hands shaking with anticipation. 10 minutes later, his office door opened. What James saw made him catch his breath. A young black girl stood in the doorway, her clothes dirty and worn, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She carried a backpack that looked like it held everything she owned. But it was her eyes that struck him. They were bright, intelligent, cautious, but determined. She held out his wallet with both hands, like it was made of glass. "Mr. Mitchell?" Her voice was soft but steady. "I believe this belongs to you. I found it 2 days ago near Peachtree Street." James took the wallet with trembling hands and immediately opened it. Everything was there, every card, every dollar, and most importantly, the photograph. His family. Still safe. He looked up at the girl, his vision blurring with tears. You kept it safe. For 2 days?" "Yes, sir." She shifted uncomfortably. "It took me a while to figure out who you were and where to find you. I don't have a phone or nothing, so I had to ask around, go to the library to use their computer." "What's your name?" "Keisha. Keisha Washington." James studied her face, the dirt smudges, the tired eyes, the obvious signs of malnutrition. This child had walked through the city carrying thousands of dollars that could have changed her life, and she'd brought it back. "Keisha, do you understand how much money was in this wallet?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. $10,000. I counted it to make sure it was all there." "And you never thought about keeping it? Even a little bit?" For the first time, Keisha's composure cracked slightly. Her eyes glistened. "My mama always told me that doing right ain't about what you get back. It's about who you are when nobody's watching." She paused, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. "Mama's gone now, but I still hear her voice every day. I couldn't disappoint her, even if she ain't here to see it." The words hit James like a physical blow. He had to sit down. "Where?" Keisha looked at him suspiciously, clutching her backpack straps. "What kind of proposition?" James stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city. "I lost something recently, Keisha. Something more valuable than anything in that wallet. Even the photograph. I lost my family because I forgot what really matters. My daughter won't talk to me. My wife is divorcing me. I built this entire empire, and I have no one to share it with." He turned back to face her. "You said your mother taught you about character, about doing right when nobody's watching. I need to learn those lessons again. I need someone to remind me what I've forgotten." "I don't understand," Keisha said quietly. "I want to help you, Keisha. Not as a reward, but as an investment in my own redemption. Let me get you off the streets. Let me make sure you finish school, go to college if you want. Let me set up a trust for your grandmother's care. He held up his hand as she started to protest. But here's what I need from you. I need you to keep me honest. I need you to remind me, every single day, what your mother taught you. Because somewhere along the way, I forgot what my own mother taught me. Keisha was quiet for a long moment, her young face processing this unexpected turn. Why would you do all that for me? Because you did something that no one in my world does anymore. You gave me back something precious without wanting anything in return. You showed me that there are still people who measure their worth by their character, not their bank account. James's voice cracked. You reminded me of who I used to be, before I lost my way. Tears welled up in Keisha's eyes. I don't want charity, Mr. Mitchell. It's not charity. It's me asking for help. From you. James walked closer, kneeling down so he was at her eye level. My daughter Lauren is 15, just like you. She ran away because I chose money over her, over everything. I can't find her, can't fix what I broke. But maybe, just maybe, if I can honor your mother's legacy by helping you, I can start to understand how to be the man I should have been all along. Keisha wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. What about my grandma? I can't just leave her. We'll move her to the best care facility in the city. You can visit her whenever you want. And Keisha, James pulled out his phone, showing her a picture. This is Lauren. If you ever see her, if she ever reaches out, maybe you could talk to her. Maybe you could tell her things I don't know how to say anymore. Keisha stared at the photo of a girl who looked remarkably like her. Same age, same searching eyes, just different circumstances. She looks sad. She is, James whispered, because her father forgot how to see her. For several minutes, neither of them spoke. Finally, Keisha nodded slowly. Okay, but I got conditions. Name them. First, I finish high school at my same school. I ain't running from where I come from. Second, I work for whatever you give me. I can clean, organize whatever you need. Third, she paused, her voice firm. You gotta promise me you'll try to find Lauren. Really try. Not just hire people, but actually try yourself. Because I bet she's out there wishing her daddy would come looking. James felt tears streaming down his face. This child, who'd lost everything, was still thinking about someone else's pain. I promise. Then okay, Keisha said. I'll help you remember. That was 3 days ago. Now, standing in the boardroom with his executive team, James finished telling the story. The room was completely silent. So that's why I'm giving away half my fortune, James continued. I'm establishing the Dorothy Washington Foundation, named after Keisha's mother, to help homeless youth get education, housing, and support. Keisha will be on the board of directors. And I'm stepping back from daily operations here to focus on what actually matters. Sarah Chun wiped her eyes. James, this is incredible. There's more, James said, his voice shaking. This morning, something happened that I still can't quite believe. He pulled out his phone, and his hands were trembling so badly he could barely hold it. At 7 a.m. today, I got a phone call. It was from a shelter in Birmingham, Alabama. Marcus leaned forward. Lauren. James nodded, tears flowing freely now. She saw the news story. Someone posted about a homeless girl returning a billionaire's wallet, and it went viral online. Lauren saw it. She saw what Keisha did, saw me talking in an interview about learning to value character over wealth, about searching for my daughter. His voice broke completely. She called. 6 months later, James Mitchell stood in the parking lot of Douglas High School, watching students pour out of the building. He spotted Keisha immediately. She was laughing with a group of friends, her backpack slung over one shoulder, looking like any other teenage girl. Except she wasn't. She was extraordinary. Dad. There she is. Lauren called out from beside him, waving enthusiastically. James smiled, watching his daughter's face light up. Lauren had been home for 6 months now, and their relationship was slowly healing. It wasn't easy. There were still difficult conversations, still moments of tension, but they were trying, really trying. And having Keisha in their lives had changed everything. Keisha jogged over, her smile wide. Y'all are early. I told you 3:30. Your grandmother wanted us to pick up her favorite cookies before we visit, Lauren explained. She specifically requested the chocolate chip ones from that bakery on Auburn Avenue. Grandma Dorothy's got expensive taste now, Keisha laughed. Ever since she moved to that fancy facility, she thinks she's royalty. James chuckled. Dorothy Washington was thriving in her new care home. The nurses said she'd gained weight, her spirits were higher, and she talked constantly about her brilliant granddaughter who was going to be the first in their family to go to college. Keisha visited her 3 times a week, never missing a day. How was school? James asked as they walked to the car. Good. I got an A on my history presentation. And Coach Thompson said I might make varsity track next year. Keisha paused, then added quietly, I've been thinking about what I want to study in college. Maybe social work. Or education. Something where I can help kids like I was. Lauren squeezed her friend's hand. You're going to change so many lives, Keisha. As they drove to visit Dorothy, James's phone buzzed with constant notifications. The Dorothy Washington Foundation had exploded beyond his wildest expectations. What started as a plan to help homeless youth had become a nationwide movement. Celebrities were donating, other billionaires were matching funds, and most importantly, thousands of young people were getting the help they needed. But the foundation wasn't the only change. True to his word, James had restructured his entire company. They'd implemented programs for employee families, created scholarships for employees' children, and established a work-life balance policy that prioritized people over profits. Some investors had been angry, predicting the company would collapse. Instead, productivity had soared. Employee retention hit record highs. And profits? They'd actually increased, proving that doing right by people was also good business. Mr. Mitchell? Keisha's voice pulled him from his thoughts. You got quiet. You okay? James glanced at her in the rearview mirror. I'm perfect, Keisha. Just thinking about how different life was 6 months ago. You mean when you were miserable and rich instead of happy and rich? Lauren teased, making everyone laugh. At the care facility, Dorothy Washington was waiting in the sunroom, her face glowing with joy as they entered. At 73, with proper medical care and regular meals, she looked 10 years younger than when James had first met her. There's my baby girl. Dorothy opened her arms, and Keisha rushed into them. James and Lauren hung back, giving them their moment. He watched as Keisha whispered something to her grandmother, saw Dorothy's eyes fill with tears of pride. This was what wealth was supposed to look like. Not numbers in a bank account, but the ability to keep families together, to give people dignity, to honor legacies of love and character. Mrs. Washington. James was quiet for a moment, considering the question. Honestly, I don't know what I thought. I was so lost back then, so focused on money and success, that I might have assumed the worst. But you proved me wrong in the best possible way. You showed me that there are still people in this world who value character over cash, who honor their parents' memories by living with integrity. My mama used to say that the truest measure of a person is what they do when no one's watching and nothing's at stake except their own conscience, Keisha said softly. I think about that every day, especially now. Why especially now? Lauren asked. Keisha hesitated, then pulled something from her backpack, a college brochure. Because people are watching now. Everyone knows my story. Sometimes I worry that I'm only doing good things because people expect it, not because it's right. Like, what if I've lost that pure thing my mama taught me? James pulled the car over, turning to face her fully. Keisha, the fact that you're worried about that proves you haven't lost anything. You're still the same girl who walked 7 miles to return a wallet. The only difference is now you have the resources to do even more good in the world. Your mama's lessons didn't disappear just because your circumstances changed, Lauren added. If anything, you're honoring her even more by using your new opportunities to help others. Keisha wiped her eyes, nodding slowly. Yeah, you're right. Thanks. As they pulled up to James's home, now home to both Lauren and Keisha, who lived in the guest house, Rebecca was waiting on the front steps. James's ex-wife had become a regular presence again, drawn back by the changes she'd seen in him. They weren't back together, not yet, but they were talking. Really talking. "How's Grandma Dorothy?" Rebecca asked, embracing Keisha. "She's perfect," Keisha grinned. "She told Mr. Mitchell he needs to stop bringing her so many cookies or she'll get fat." Everyone laughed. The sound of family, rebuilt, reimagined, but real. Later that night, James sat in his study, looking at the photograph from his wallet. It was framed now, sitting on his desk where he could see it every day. But next to it was a new photo, one taken last week at the Foundation's launch event. In it, James stood with Lauren on one side and Keisha on the other, all three of them smiling genuinely. His phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Foundation just hit 10 million in donations. You changed the world, boss." But James knew better. He hadn't changed the world. A 15-year-old homeless girl who chose character over cash had changed the world. She'd certainly changed his. He texted back. "Not me. Keisha Washington changed the world. I'm just lucky enough to help." James looked out his window at the city lights, thinking about all the Keishas out there. Young people facing impossible odds, making choices about who they wanted to be despite their circumstances. The Foundation would help some of them. But the real legacy wasn't the money. It was the reminder that doing right wasn't about what you got back. It was about who you were when nobody was watching. Keisha had been watching herself that day, holding herself accountable to the standards her mother had set. And in doing so, she'd held up a mirror to James Mitchell, forcing him to see who he'd become and who he could be again. He picked up the framed photo, studying young Keisha's face. She'd walked 7 miles carrying $10,000 and a priceless photograph. But what she'd really been carrying was a legacy of love, integrity, and character that her mother had entrusted to her. And now, through the Foundation, through her example, through her simple act of honesty, that legacy would spread to thousands of young people.